Fox 13's political editor Craig Patrick had plenty to say about Governor Scott and health care, and it turns out one thing he said struck a nerve in the governor's office. We'll let Craig explain.
This week, I got a call from the governor's press office.
We need to get this confusion taken care of.
So at first I wondered, what in the world could we have said or shown that might have irked the governor's press office? Only Rick Scott could brag about adopting a dog from a rescue shelter.
He was the sweetest dog you can imagine.
Then return that same dog after he won.
He barked loudly at people, so I gave him back.
We're going to cut taxes $1 billion. The smartest decision I made was pick Jennifer Carroll.
Obamacare is absolutely unenforceable. It's unconstitutional. The Supreme Court will hold it unconstitutional. We know it's unenforceable for the state.
How do you miss by $79 million in court?
Yeah, they made a mistake. We'll be looking at that over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I don't remember saying a few weeks. I don't think that's what I said.
Turns out it was not any of that. It was this.
I'm not going to stand in the way. That's what I've said.
I'm not going to support it.
Scott's spokeswoman said that I noted Scott's prior support of Medicaid expansion without noting his condition that it be fully funded by the feds for 3 years.
Expanding access to Medicaid services for 3 years is a compassionate, common sense step forward.
But I said, wait a minute, isn't the Senate plan that he fought tooth and nail also fully federally funded for 3 years? And that's when his spokeswoman clammed up.
Governor Rick Scott believes transparency matters.
She said I'd have to submit any questions in the form of an email. So I did, asking, do you agree that the Senate's plan fully covers health care expansion with federal money for 3 years? If so, what changed? If the Senate plan had a sunset provision after 3 years, would he still have opposed it?
I cannot in good conscience deny Floridians that needed access to health care.
I also asked how Scott squares that statement to his position today. Does he no longer believe 3 years is a reasonable period to assess an expansion? Did the feds really tell him that the hospital fund would not be continued in its current form, and he put it in his budget anyway? And his press office would not answer any of those questions.
Look, I've always given you all the facts.
Why won't you answer the question, sir?
Last question.
Why do you think you have a reputation for not answering questions?
Oh gosh, I answer questions.
What do you think of all the turmoil these changes are
Why did you
creating?
mislead the cabinet, Governor? He answers questions with unrelated canned statements.
But did you think it was a problem to have on-duty law enforcement there?
I'm very appreciative of both their support and those that come to my events.
You didn't answer that question. Should there be discipline?
Look, I'm appreciative of everybody that comes to my events.
And when cornered, he'll just deny his contradictions.
It'll be the 700,000, plus what would be normal.
It's on top of that. On top of what normal growth would be.
I don't know who said that.
700,000 on top of.
No.
Our governor could surely learn from his fellow Republicans Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio. With the exception of his recent waffles on Iraq, Jeb Bush tends to say what he means. He seems to relish questions rather than evade them.
That'll light up the Twitter.
Meanwhile, Rubio answered questions over his financial struggles with candor in such a way that working class families may relate. They've leaped to the top of the pack in their party's race to the White House, while Scott is fighting with his own party with a position on health care that can be very hard to follow.
Everybody in our state deserves the health care, especially for something, a terminal illness or anything like that can help their health care.